Transnet through Richards Bay terminals has circulated a notice that it will suspend the receiving of all cargo that is brought to the port via road freight. The backlog is estimated at 5 billion rands. Several shipping vessels that are due to bring in goods for the festive season are now being unable to do offload. So for more, let's bring in Professor Peter Baur, economist from the University of Johannesburg, to unpack the economic impact of Transnet's operations. Prof. Baur, good afternoon, and thank you for your time with us here on the SABC.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, so Prof, obviously supply chains, port congestions coming to the fore at this hour. And perhaps you could just give us some context as to what has transpired and the impact of this from an economic standpoint as we edge closer to the festive period.
This is quite a critical situation, especially if we take a look at the current situation regarding our ports. We're looking at something like 70,000 containers right now offshore that are not sufficiently being handled. In terms of the World Bank, the container handling index, South Africa is actually extremely low on the scale. And in terms of handling the number of containers, we're looking at an average port between 4 to 5 days. In South Africa, we're looking at up to 20 days to clear containers through the ports. This congestion is obviously having a huge spillover effect, in fact, impacting on other industries as well. We're looking at our minerals industry, we're looking at our food industry, and the direct and indirect costs are quite extensive. In the moment, we're estimating probably about 4.5% impact on our current GDP in terms of actually the inability to move this cargo through our ports, and it's impacting on both ways. It's goods exporting from South Africa to other countries, EU and for example the European Union and England, and we're looking at fresh products that are being exported, and with long delay times, this results in a large number of products obviously becoming bad, going off, and that has an impact then again on the markets in the other countries.
Given the port and rail inefficiencies at this point, causing additional costs that you've alluded to, not leveraging off of some of the opportunities, the industries that are now affected, how does this also impact on our competitiveness as a country? And when we look at the role of the National Logistics Crisis Committee following the business sector's appeal, I mean, what has been their work to date? What's come to the fore in terms of addressing these inefficiencies?
Well, I believe that it's a compounded effect. We have, starting with Transnet's congestion issues, much of it is driven through the inefficiencies that we've created in the system. This is compounded again through cable theft. It's again compounded through other crises we experience in the country, like our energy crisis. And these are all impacting on the different industries and in different ways. We've seen also that a large portion of the shall we say, the goods that have been handled are moving away from Transnet into the private sector. We're also seeing that other countries are rerouting many of the products to neighboring countries. They're offloading in Mauritius and then reloading smaller vessels to South Africa. We're seeing us being moved to Namibia and Mozambique to try and bring the goods into the country. This is adding to additional delays, but we're not just talking in delays in terms of time. I mean, this is going to obviously affect our festive season. It's going to affect goods and stocks that are required in the marketplace, but it's also affecting us in terms of, shall we say, the entire competitiveness and efficiencies that we're experiencing within the economy itself. And these have these compounded effects. So you have the direct costs associated directly with the handling of the goods, and those additional costs, especially with if you take a look at some of the international shipping companies charging us additional handling fees, but we're seeing now even more additional costs in terms of how that is transpiring through the entire, shall we say, the market process, through the food chain system, and all these different delays are going to impact us in terms of our logistics and our ability to put goods on the market, which are adding additional costs. And currently, given the very high interest rates and the handling of goods, these additional costs are going to be transferred, of course, to the consumer, and the consumer market is also going to be starting to feel the pinch. So we have additional inflationary impacts from within. So we have these structural inflationary impacts compounded on top of a struggling economy right now.
So, Prof, there's now obviously now going to be knock-on effects for consumers. Some also questioning whether there is a form of sabotage in what is transpiring. Any thoughts on that?
You know, I don't see this as shall we say a deliberate, shall we say, structural effect. I see this more as a compounded effect, driven through, shall we say, a number of different, shall we say, effects that are multiplying the whole process of the problem. So if it was just a Transnet issue, if it was just an electricity problem, if it was just a crime issue, then yes, you know, we could bring it down to something more concrete. But I think this is a compounded structural problem that is growing, and this will obviously lead to additional structural issues within other sectors of the economy. It's going to be affecting the farming sector, it's going to be affecting retail, it's going to be affecting households, and overall, at the end of the day, it's the structural issue. It just continues to grow, and very direct, very concerned direct effects have to be put into place to mitigate against these compounding impacts that we are going to be having and experiencing. That is going to be simply transferred to the bottom line, which is your consumer.
Well, we're trying to look at solutions or the way forward, short and long term. What are some of the alleviation strategies that need to be employed or should be employed overall, perhaps to solve this crisis that we're experiencing?
When we take a look at some of the problems that we're experiencing, let's say in Cape Town ports, we're looking at, for example, the number of cranes that are available, cranes or units of machinery that are available to load. We're looking at that are breaking down, and so we don't have sufficient, shall we say, handling machinery to empty this. We're looking at the congestion associated around the different management structures of how these trucks are handling. There's also a growing level of frustration that we're seeing. There was a news clip earlier, and you were speaking to one of the business owners or the truck drivers. They are extremely frustrated right now, and of course the compounding effect of them is also growing. So in terms of the overall management, this process is an ongoing process, and in order to mitigate this, I think a large amount of reformist and structural processes need to be put into place rather urgently and rather rapidly to mitigate against this. We can just see, if you take a look again at the clip earlier with the truck drivers, the impact on the roads. Being able to move goods back into rail would be one of the key considerations. Reducing all those structural issues that are faced directly by Transnet, so bringing goods back to rail would definitely go a long way towards helping alleviate some of these challenges.